Everybody, it's Michael here from Replica Airguns with another tabletop video review for you today. And today we're looking at the KWC 18. This is a CO2 Blowback steel BB pistol. And again, this is the tabletop review, so there won't be any shooting in this video. That's going to follow later on. Now, I've tested a bunch of these KWC / Umarex Glocks. There's a whole bunch of different versions of them. Full blowback, semi-blowback, steel BB, airsoft, different gens, Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5 now, and obviously different versions like Glock 17, 18, 19s, X's, all of them. There's a whole myriad of products available, which is fantastic. It used to be so hard to get Glocks. This is not exactly a Glock, it is very Glock-like, but KWC is in this case basically taking the liberty to modify it or change it up a little bit so that Glock won't be too upset with them producing it, even though I'm pretty sure KWC has a good relationship with Glock since they are making a lot of products for Glocks that are being distributed through Umarex with the licensed versions. So let's get right into the specifications here. We'll do a little bit of a comparison to some other Umarex Glocks, and then we'll talk pros and cons. So here's the specs for you. It is a blowback, metal slide, and magazine with polymer frame design. It does use 12-gram CO2 cartridges. It shoots 4.5mm steel BBs. It has an 18-shot full-size dropout metal magazine. It is approximately 8 inches in length, so 203mm. It has about a 4-inch barrel, which is 102mm, and that's a smooth bore barrel. It also shoots in what's closest to a single action wound trigger, so not a double action. It's quite a light, short trigger, by the way, very similar to what you'd find on a Glock. It weighs approximately 1.7 pounds or 771 grams, and the max velocity is 314 FPS in the right shooting conditions. It does include an adjustable hop-up, which is not the norm for steel BB pistols, but it could help a little bit with some backspin, which might carry it a little bit further downrange without as much of an arc. You're going to find that safety that's built into the serial number underneath the barrel right there by the Picatinny rail. And it also has an incorporated trigger safety like you find on, again, a real steel Glock. You're going to find white dot markings, so a white dot on the front sight and that sort of half rectangular marking that's in white on the rear. I'll show you that when I do the walk around. And this particular one shoots in semi and full auto, so it's selectable, giving you the option of shooting it in semi-auto and full auto. As I mentioned, there's that Picatinny rail under the barrel for add-ons like tack lights and lasers, and it can be fully field stripped, which helps you gain access to the hop-up. Now, before I get too far into this review, I do want to mention you can buy this in our Canada and US Replica Airgun stores over at replicaairguns.ca for Canada and replicaairguns.us for the US. I'll put links in the description of this video that'll make it a little easier to find. So let's take a quick look how this compares to your standard Glock. Now this is considered an 18. What I have here is I have a Glock 17, and this is a Gen 5. This is an Umarex product. So this Gen 5 has the removable plate for adding red dots on it. So this is a newer product from Umarex, Gen 5 Glock 17. This particular item has the semi-blowback action, so it's a slightly different magazine, which gives you higher velocities. Put that in there. But the blowback action is not as far. As you can see, the slide doesn't come back quite as far. But it is a more efficient gun with more of a double action style trigger. So not the exact trigger we're used to with a Glock. And here we have the Glock, the same basic, this is a Glock 17, but this is a Gen 4. And this particular one, another Umarex product, but you can see how the slide goes back even further. It's a full blowback gun with the standard full blowback dropout metal magazine, and very close in function to this one, because this is essentially the same type of magazine and the same full blowback action all the way back, right? So, but this, obviously, because it's Umarex and it's licensed through Umarex, you're going to find all the Glock markings on it. It's going to be as close to a real steel Glock in design, same trigger guards, same, basic build, design, everything, all the branding that you're not going to find on this version, because this isn't supposed to be a Glock, right? It's not licensed or anything. And I'm not sure if I obviously mentioned it, it's partially in the title. This is a KWC product and it is made in Taiwan. Now, it does come with a few things in the box. I'll show you the box in a second, but you do get a little bag of steel BBs, which is kind of nice. You do get that Allen key for tightening up the CO2 screw, which you're going to need to do, obviously, to load up a CO2. You get a little product guide, right? So this is just a, basically they're advertising some of their products. It's just a little brochure. You get that in the box. And then you obviously get this manual that has things like you know, the size of the BBs, the hop up, the 1.6, what is this, energy? So that's talking about energy, 96 meters per second, which works out to, I believe, 314, 315, 18 rounds. Has the, it says it's the magazine is the AAKC MM19. So if you want to get extra ones, the weight, the length, and full auto abilities, right? So in here, you've got all your instructions that you're going to need. If you want to do anything like there's your safety instructions, putting the CO2 in, right? Loading BBs there. What else we got here? How to tear it down, all the stuff you're going to need to know, right? If you get a BB jam, things like that. So definitely worth reading at some point. And here's the box. So definitely looks pretty good. You know, it's a lot like what you would find with some of the Umarex products, the Umarex Glocks. Several of them, or lots of them, do come in boxes. Some of them come in clamshells, unfortunately. But, you know, pretty basic inside the box. With the gun not there, you're not going to find anything exciting. We're going to take everything out. But then you also have on the back, a little diagram here, some parts, you know, there's a parts list there where what everything is. And then you also have some more. If you want to freeze that, you can. It talks about a lot of the stuff that's already on the front there, that's marked on the front. All right, so let's, before we get into the pros and the cons, I do want to do a show around, walk around of this gun. We'll also do a field strip real quick for you guys. But you can see here, it is very Glock-like, but there's some things that are slightly different. You know, just the shape of this is it's a little bit longer here. The shape of the slide is slightly different too. You know, all the cutouts and everything, and the rail's slightly different. This trigger guard is definitely very different, but you're going to find very similar controls, like the safety here built into the trigger, like the way you take it down, slide catch release, all the functions, and the feel of it's going to be very similar. So if, I mean, you're just holding it and shooting it, it's going to perform and feel a lot like a Glock, and probably holster in your holsters, like any of the holsters you have for your Glocks and stuff. It should fit into the similar versions of these, right? So if you have a 18 or 19 or whatever, it should be pretty close to that. So let's do a takedown here, but let's just show you this real quick. So you do have full blowback operation. I don't have any CO2 in it, but you can see that trigger is really nice, really light, really nice. And then you have this full-size dropout metal magazine, right? You put your CO2 in the bottom here. Obviously there's your CO2 valve. Load all your BBs in this magazine with the magazine feeder there, right? You've got your follower and stuff that will lock back when your last round goes through it. To field strip this, you essentially just pull this back, whoops, pull it back, pull these down, give it a bit of a whack. Yeah, that's what it takes. Oh, something just popped out. So it all fell apart, which is okay because I can put it back together. But here's your hop up, okay? Here's your inner barrel that came out on me. No big deal. But I'll have to put this all back in to get it all back together, of course. And here's your full metal slide. There's your hop up adjustment right there, okay? And sorry, there's your inner barrel there. This is just your spring, retainer spring. And here's how the whole semi and full auto works here. So it's just switches up and down like that. All right, let's put this back together. So just essentially you just pop this back in here. Okay, so that goes back in there. And then this is going to go here. And then that's just going to go like that. Okay, so pretty easy to put back together. No harm, no foul. And then let's just slide this back on. It is pretty tight. That's why I had to give it a good whack. And putting it back on, kind of the same thing. You're just going to have to pop these down. Let me just do this off camera because it is a little tricky. There we go. Okay, so you have to give it a good whack just to get it past so that this lines up. I had to give it a good bump on here. Don't like overdo it, but definitely keep these pins, these little takedown levers on both sides. Keep them down while you're giving it a little pop when you put it back on. So it is pretty tight, probably because it's, you know, it's never been pulled apart. First few times things are going to be a little more catchy than once it gets sort of worked in. But that's how it works. It's just, I don't know if we took a good look on this side here. Let's just finish up this walk around, right? Yeah, so the controls are basically on the left-hand side mostly for the slide catch release and the semi and full auto. Right, you do have the nice wide open barrel opening. It looks more like a 9mm, obviously, right? Everything looks really good on this gun. Everything, textured grips. There's your rear sight, that sort of half rectangular white markings, and you've got the white markings on the front. You've got the full, this magazine is tight. There we go. Okay, you've got the full wide open mag well, right? Because it's a full blowback. So yeah, real nice, real snappy, nice. This slide feels really good. It doesn't have a clanky sound at all. It feels really good. There are some white markings here. It's a little bit stands out a little bit much, but that's okay. That's the only white markings you're going to find on here. And there is the, this is the safety, and it's the serial number, but if you push it this way, then you can actually lock it, the trigger. So if you want to do that, if you're storing it, you can keep it locked so that you can't pull that trigger back at all. This trigger also needs to be, you have to use the trigger guard or use the trigger safety to get it to work as well, right? Your finger has to go across that. So there's another level of protection there. All right, so let's get into some of the pros and the cons and wrap up this review. All right, it has good weight with a very solid feel to it, like you're gonna find with most of these KWC made Glocks. They're all pretty much true to form. All the metals where you're gonna find metal, plastics where you're gonna find plastic, polymer if you wanna call it that. And it has a full blowback action that will produce really nice recoil effect. That spring feels really good. The slide sounds really awesome. It does have a full-size dropout metal magazine. It also has that Glock short and light single action only trigger. And you can add accessories to the rail like a laser or tactical light if you want to. And because this isn't licensed in any way, you're not going to find a lot of markings, just those little white markings on the right. And this version has that full and semi-auto selector, so you can shoot it in semi or full auto. Obviously, full auto is going to use up a lot of CO2. And as I showed you, it field strips just like the real steel version would. It has those white dot sights front and back with the adjustable hop up to adjust for slight elevation changes that you might want to do because there really isn't an adjustable sight on it. So if it's shooting a little bit low or high, you may be able to adjust the hop up to accommodate for that, although steel BBs don't respond quite the same as airsoft BBs because they're a lot heavier, but it should help a little bit. You're going to find that working trigger safety along with the serial number safety as well. And it's a very close in looks and feel and function as a real steel Glock, which would make it a good trainer if you've already owned Glocks or real steel Glocks or even other airsoft Glocks. It's going to kind of fit into that ecosystem nicely if you're using different holsters and things. Possibly even magazines will be cross-compatible between the Umarex ones and this. I'm not 100% for sure what magazine you'd use for this, but it is listed on the box, so it may be something that's already being used in a different version or a different Glock version. All right, a few cons. Because of that full blowback action, it will produce lower FPS and use up a lot more CO2. And speaking of using up the CO2, that full auto, although it's nice to have, that's going to use a whole bunch of CO2 very quickly. You may only get a couple magazines out of it. Maybe only one really good one, to be honest, if you're going through rounds really quick. These guns cool down super fast. That CO2 empties really quick. All right, again, there will be a field test coming up for this one. I always love shooting these guns. These full blowback Glock style guns are a lot of fun to shoot, so I will be for sure making a field test shooting video, so stay posted for that. Again, we do carry these products in both our Canada and US replica airgun stores. We have lots of Glock versions, Umarex Glocks, KWC, similar to Glock versions. But if you want, again, a licensed Glock, you're going to have to buy one of the Umarex ones, which again, we carry in both stores. I will put links in the description for you to buy this particular item if you're interested in this one specifically. And don't forget, we have a whole bunch of other products in both our Canada and US replica airgun stores over at replicaairguns.ca for Canada, replicaairguns.us for the US. We have air guns, BB guns, airsoft guns, pellet guns, blank guns, and other accessories. And of course, we have written articles and reviews over at replicaairguns.com, which is our blog, where I have written posts along with additional information sometimes and photos and things like that. So check out replicaairguns.com when you get the chance. All right, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, take care.